Hello, welcome back to Dr. Introspect TV, and it's your host, Dr. Introspect, and I'm back. So that's our intro. I'm bringing to you a video voiceover style, and I hope you do enjoy. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a show that has been highly requested by our wonderful community, and it's no other than Bridgerton. Stay tuned. Okay, so Bridgerton. Before I dive right into the video, I just want to drop some fun facts per usual. So this is actually fiction. I know, with how exciting this story is, some of you might have hoped that it was maybe true life, but it's not. It's fiction. However, the time and setting is real. Specifically, it was set in 1813 London during the time that King George III ruled, and the character Queen Charlotte is actually a real life character. Now, whether or not she was a biracial woman is a little uncertain at this point. I did some digging, and there were some articles that said she was, and there are some other articles that indicated that the British royal family have never really made any comment on it. But regardless of her race or heritage, she is in the family tree that comes all the way down to Prince Harry, who is now married to Meghan Markle. So that's some fun. A second fun fact, this is brought to us by the highly acclaimed Shonda Rhimes. Now you know, anything that Shonda Rhimes gets behind is usually stellar, and it would pay some good homage to the black community. So diving straight, I'm going to be covering different sections in this analysis. I'm going to be looking at love. I'm going to make a comparison between the time setting versus our current time. I'm going to be doing an analysis of the childhood trauma that is depicted here in the story. And finally, I will talk about Simon feeling violated in that particular sex scene, and then I would make a general commentary on the romantic and sex scenes of this story. So diving right into the love section, the first thing I want to talk about is with regards to vulnerability. So with vulnerability, it's actually something I talk about a lot on this channel without diving too far into it. If you want to watch my video on where I go deeper into vulnerability, please watch my analysis for Kissing Booth 2, and I think I'll leave a comment down here in the video. Generally, with vulnerability, you want to be open and feel safe with someone to share about the deepest and even often darkest parts of yourself. And in the story, we see that happen between Daphne and Simon. With Daphne and Simon had a horrible childhood story, which I would get into much later in this analysis, and he kept it away from Daphne, and I believe in the final episode, he finally opens up to her. Actually, he didn't open up to her. She did some digging on her own, found some letters, and she put the pieces together, and then she found out about his horrible childhood, and then she told him, he told her that he didn't want to have children because of a promise he had made to himself about not wanting to give his father the satisfaction of their bloodline continuing. He wasn't really able to be vulnerable and really explain, so even after he told her, this is why I can't or I don't want to have children, he didn't give her like a room to understand why he decided to make this choice. So this story, and if you're thinking about it in your real life, there are other ways this could have gone that could have led to a better outcome. But vulnerability is such an incredible journey that can be really scary, especially when you're thinking about the timing and the setting of this story. Men were supposed to be this macho people and strong, and they're not supposed to have these scars that are affecting their lives as adults. So there are these really high expectations that they have of them. So being able to achieve that level of vulnerability wasn't something that I feel that he was able to do. The second thing I want to talk about is the issue of secrets. Simon kept some secrets from Daphne, how he couldn't have children, or why he didn't want to have children. He just kept on saying, I'm not a man you want to marry, you deserve better, you deserve to have a family you want, you deserve to have children, you deserve to have everything you want and the love you want, but I'm not the one that can give it to you. And he never really opened up to tell her why he felt this way. He never really explained it, and I know he was keeping that secret, and he was also being scared to be vulnerable. And there are many things that come into play here, because he probably feels like he's not perfect, and all that childhood trauma. He doesn't feel like he's worthy of love. He doesn't feel like he's worthy of her. So it's easier to just wrap it all in this small box and just make a secret out of it and say, you shouldn't want me, I don't want you, and things like that. And he just kept the secret, and they got married. And Daphne just felt very blindsided, like, I made a decision without having all my cards on deck. Sometimes people get very upset when they find out about the truth, not because now that they know, they're going to love you less. As we could see, she never really loved him any less, even though this is a fictional story. In real life, when people love you, often when they learn about the truth, it's just like a betrayal of trust. It's like they made a decision without all the information, and they also feel like you managed them. So because you're trying to manage outcomes, you're managing the people involved, so it feels manipulative. And those are the things that people have an issue with regards to secret keeping. The other thing I want to talk about is the whole concept of feeling worthy of love. And for Simon in the story, he felt unworthy of love, mostly because of how he was raised by his father. His father gave him no love whatsoever, and his mother died, and he grew up with someone else that took him in. I will comment more on his childhood trauma much later, but growing up and feeling like he is this imperfect person and love is for only people that are perfect, he felt like if Daphne got to see all of him, Daphne got to see his scars, his emotional wounds, learn about his trauma, and see the whole picture of who he is in entirety, that she would turn away. And that's always a risk we have to take when we decide to love someone. You don't know if they're going to see you and reject you, but if someone rejects you, it's not necessarily a reflection of who you are. It doesn't mean that you don't deserve love. It just means maybe you and that person are not a match. So it could have happened that maybe she might have rejected him, and then we wouldn't have this story at all, but she didn't. And that fear of rejection is so scary for us human beings. We are afraid of rejection. It's in our DNA. We are wired that way. It could mean the end of us, the end of our bloodline, the inability to find a mate. So we understand. But as we can see here, Daphne tells him and reassures him under that rain that she loves him. regardless of his imperfections, regardless of his scars and everything. She loves him with all of his imperfections, and that was so beautiful. Okay, so the first quarter of the video is done, and now we're going to enter some really deeper stuff, so buckle up. So this is where the analysis is supposed to fall, and it's going to be in a part 2 of this compilation, so wait for it. Don't worry, it's not going to affect how you enjoy this video, and you can watch them in any order you like. I also want to remind you to smash that like button if you enjoy this video. It helps me stay updated about the kind of content you like. If you're new, please hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell so that you stay updated every time I post a new video. And thank you to all our ride or die, oldie and goodies that are still here. Welcome back. If you have any ideas and thoughts on what next you want me to post, definitely leave a comment in the comment section below. And now I just want to touch on the childhood trauma that Simon experienced. So we could see that Simon's father treated Simon terribly when he was a child. He had a stammering problem, and it seemed like that was his only issue. He was a good student, he did well at every other thing, playing the piano, but he stammered, and it could be that the father's pressure on him to be so perfect was probably affecting him speaking. It was when Lady Danbury took him in that he could speak again, and she actually gave him the love that every child so desperately needs, and he was able to grow into this man that we got to see on camera and love so much. The childhood trauma, I'm surprised that he just came out as a rake in the end. So he was a rake, and if you Google what rake means, a man that just sleeps around and squanders his money on alcohol, maybe gambling, but like a wild card kind of man. And he was a wild card, and I feel like he just did a lot of that to cover the wounds, because he doesn't want anyone to see who he really was. And also, if you don't plan on having children, what's the point of falling in love, right? Why fall in love with one woman and then cause her pain because you never give her children? And back in the day, that was all a woman's role was, to have children. That's all. You are going to deny her this one thing that is supposed to be the purpose of her existence. So he figured that he would just wild out, and I think that's what he did. But as we could see, the trauma was really dark, and I'm surprised that he just came out as a rake. Somebody else could have come out with narcissistic tendencies, because that is essentially how those kids are made. You have parents that are insistent on perfection. They are withholding on affection and love, and they only reward you when you're perfect. And when you're not perfect, they cast you out into the cold, and their standards for perfection are incredibly high. So you overindulge the children when they are great and they make you look good, and when they're not great, you shut them out. But in this case, we didn't even see the father give him that indulgence of, oh, you're great, you're perfect. It just seemed like all his father ever did was tell him, you're not enough. And he grew up with someone that is supposed to be your first love. The love of your parents is your first love. It sets the stage for how you carry on loving other people in life. They are the first emotional wounds that you have. They are the first attachment bonds that you create in life, and they do not love you. And all you ever get from them is this continuous echo of how you are not enough and you will never be enough. And The father was so terrible that he didn't even feel any form of empathy for Simon's mother, the Duchess, when she died. He just felt like she was useless to me. She never gave me any children, and now she has given me a child. She gave me this useless stammerer of a boy. He's useless and dead to me. Get him out of my sight. I don't want to see him. Wow. So the fact that he didn't turn out worse to me is shocking. And that's just a testament to the work that Lady Danbury did with him, raising such a young man, because he does have love in his heart to give. He loves Daphne. He does, clearly. We can see that. But those wounds are there. If this was 2021, I would definitely recommend therapy, even though that he and Daphne were able to finally overcome that hump and be open with each other and be vulnerable. I think there's still some work to be done there. There are wounds that time doesn't heal. And if you don't want to recreate generational trauma, like I spoke about in my last video, you're going to want to do the work to make sure you don't repeat it in your own generation. Next thing I want to talk about again is with regards to Simon, and this is going to be the segue into the sex scene commentary. So in the scene where Daphne takes Simon, I don't know if that's a good description, but they start having sex and Simon is on top, and then she switches and she's on top, and then she rides him until he has an orgasm and he ejaculates inside of her. So a lot of people can see this and maybe compare it to rape or a sexual violation, because Simon did not consent to having his scene inside of her. Now, at the same time, he didn't say stop. So the entire time they had that sex, he never asked her to stop. I guess he was mostly shocked that she was doing what she was doing, because every other sex they had had, even though they were having a lot of it, he had always been the one in control. And now she was in control. He was surprised at first, probably thought it was fun, but then when she did it all the way and finished, he felt violated, and that's when their fight really started. So I can definitely understand that he didn't consent to it, but then the lines are so blurred that Shonda Rhimes is able to pass across this message of how she's no longer just this object that is being acted upon, that her role is just basically to give moans and give him reassuring sounds that he's doing the right thing. But now she is in control of her sexual pleasure. She has been empowered with this information about how sex works and how babies are made and all of that stuff. You know, she's now in control, and we could see her face when she made that switch. She was almost even like subtly angry, if you could see. And that's the fine line I think Shonda Rhimes was walking in, where you were depicting a woman taking control of her sexuality, but at the same time it looks like he was violated. Let me know what you think in the comments, if you feel that Simon was violated and this was really horrible, or if you're on the team of yes, that was a girl just doing her own thing and taking charge. I definitely see both sides to it, so let me know in the comments what you think, because consent is such a sensitive subject. You know, even if you and someone are naked and a lot of things are happening and the person says they don't want to be penetrated to at that point and they want to stop, you should stop, you know. So it's kind of confusing, because He never told her to stop. They had never had a conversation about why he always ejaculates into a handkerchief or something else and never inside of her. And I don't think she really understood. But then he said he assumed that she understood. So there was a lot of assumptions that blurred the lines enough to have these two conversations of a woman owning her sexuality and a man possibly feeling violated because he didn't consent to making a baby. So really interesting conversation. Have that on your kitchen tables and come back and let us know. Now finally, talking about the sex scenes commentary. I know I saved the best for last. You guys came here because you wanted me to talk about the sex scenes. I know, and I left it for the end. I have to say, they were great. They were some of the most natural sex scenes. I think it wasn't like full nude. You know, it was mostly implied nudity, maybe some butts here and there. But I personally feel like there was more romance than just physical sex play, and I think that was what made it so climactic. That whole romance and the dialogue, you know, she's saying things like, I burn for you. Like you just hear it on you. You're on your seat and you're feeling the burning. Like, oh my god, I burn for you too. It's so funny, but I think it was great. And you know what, fun fact, this show actually had an intimacy director on set. Yes, look up that term. Someone that's actually in charge of that, and they rehearse those things and just, you know, make it as natural as possible, make the cast, crew, everyone comfortable. You know, she and him, they've never worked together and now they're working together and they have to be naked so many times, trying to make them comfortable and making it seem natural and everything flow. I definitely commend this intimacy director and Shonda Rhimes and everyone behind the crew, and of course the two people on set, Simon and Daphne, their character names, for just bringing those scenes to life in such a passionate way. So that's all I'm going to say on that. If you want to know more and you haven't seen it, go and watch it and come back and let us know. Okay, so that's all I have for you. Just to recap, I touched on the whole love umbrella. I talked about that with regards to vulnerability, secrets keeping, and you being worthy of love. Then I did a comparison between the Regency era and our 2021 time. I looked at childhood trauma, I looked at Simon feeling violated, and finally I made a commentary on the sex scenes. And so with that, I come to the end of this analysis. I can't wait to see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.